All right, let's get this started. Hi, folks. What? Yup? What the hoth is going on in here? You killed him? You know what? I don't care. Let's just get back to our review. Come on. There you go. Move over. That storyline was almost as bad as a Brian Wood Star Wars comic. Alright, let's get this over with. We're going to talk about Brian Wood's last, thank goodness, 2 issues to his Star Wars Dark Horse 2013 series. Started in 2013, ended in 2014. Anyway, it's called A Shattered Hope, and this is in issues 19 and 20. And while you look at these wonderful covers, let me read to you what the publisher summary actually states. It talks about Luke, Leia, and Han as they are disguised as smugglers and have a crazy caper to pull off. Nyak, nyak, nyak. They also run into IG-88, and it doesn't matter because this all sucks. The whole entire series, if you didn't already get that already. Now, get this, if it hasn't been revealed in the comments already, it's not canon. None of it is. These last few episodes are not canon. Now, I only mention this series is because a lot of you are like, Matt, when are you going to mention the Star Wars 2013 series? Matt, when are you going to talk about this? Have you already missed the date? Looks like this stuff happened before you were in the timeline. Yes. And I meant to do this a lot earlier, but then I decided against it. But I said, you know what? Let me just go ahead and just talk about it. Because it was a horrendous series. Now, to be honest, I never knew it was not considered canon for years afterward, a couple of years afterward. In fact, probably when I started this series, I think 2016. Originally, I was doing a study of the timeline. I said, well, I'll layer it. I'll look at the books first, then I'll look at the comic book series, then I'll add all the short stories. And while I was on the short stories, I was like, this is not the way to do this. We need to do this by era and everything. And I remember looking back over that Star Wars Dark Horse series because I wasn't sure when it happened. And then later on I found out that it wasn't canon. It was never meant to be canon. In fact, Brian Wood on his blog actually states that he said, consider it, 1977, and Star Wars just came out in theaters, and this is brand new stuff that you've never seen before. And Randy Stradley, who was, chief editor over at Dark Horse at the time, was like, yeah, this is a series that, fans can read, and they don't have to worry about all the EU. Well, the thing was, you were making books already that people didn't have to read about the rest of the EU, your mini-series, even your ongoing series. Sure, they had connections, but it wasn't like anyone was missing anything. Remember, I've always said this, one of the great things about the expanded universe is that it was always self-contained. These were self-contained stories. Anyone could jump in at almost anywhere in the timeline and not be lost at all. So the mere fact that Dark Horse, and they just did this to sell comic books. I mean, I know I talked about Old Republic, the comic book series, being a cash grab. Oh my goodness. This series was a teetotal, no doubt about it, cash grab for Dark Horse. And hey, they made a ton of money. Those first issues sold like hotcakes until people realized what it was for. It was just regurgitated garbage. It was just garbage. Brian Wood delivers nothing but consistent garbage every time. And this series is not worth reading. In fact, when I found out that it was not considered canon, I can still be convinced to throw all these away or at least create a bonfire and burn them all. I mean, honestly, I really think the series was that horrendous. But thank goodness it was never canon. They even said in another interview that it was kind of, consider this a soft reboot. Because like I told you, everyone wants to write rebellion stories, right? Because that's what the casual fan loves, is their average, the Star Wars rebellion era. Young Luke, Han, and Leia fighting the Empire. So of course Dark Horse says, well man, we've really, painted ourselves in a corner with the storyline. Let's just pretend none of it happened. Now remember, this is the same time, or it was right before they started doing the Star Star Wars. You know, George Lucas, a comic book off of George Lucas' original script. Now, I'm not going to bother reviewing that garbage because I didn't like it either. Sure, it shows some of Ralph McQuarrie's general ideas, and yeah, you get to see what George Lucas considered, you know, Star Wars the movie to look like at the beginning, but overall, I think that was a bore too. Now, I will say this whole study has led me to a free comic book that I kind of forgot to mention earlier. I say this because as I was reviewing, you know, kind of studying all of these comic books, I saw that the trade paperback mentions the free comic book from, I think it was 2012, called The Art of the Bad Deal. And it was written by Zach Whedon. And basically it's just Han Solo and Chewbacca. This is prior to episode 4, and they have a deal that goes bad. Oddly enough, this is a joke on, back then, a Donald Trump novel called The Art of the Deal. And so The Art of the Bad Deal is just kind of a play off of that Donald Trump novel, which I think is kind of funny. All right, folks, that's all the time I have for now. See you next time with another video.